Welcome to my madness, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be taking a look at this Hasbro Marvel Legends, what are they calling this? The Final Swing Suit Spider-Man, I guess, from the new retro carded wave, although it's not really retro cards, but it's on a card back, which is cool. I like the looks of it, but you know, I take all my stuff out of the package, so it really doesn't matter. Now, before we get too much into it, he does come with a few accessories. Not that much, but we do get some thwip hands here, which I think is an absolute necessity for any Spider-Man figure whatsoever. We do get some wall crawling hands, again, absolute necessity for a Spider-Man figure. And then, of course, we've got fisted hands on the figure itself. And then, of course, we get an unmasked Peter Parker head, which I don't care about at all, because I did not buy this figure because, ooh, I want to have yet another, you know, Tom Holland Spider-Man figure in my collection. I, like I think many people out there, bought this figure because it is a phenomenal looking Spider-Man figure, just as Spider-Man. I mean, this thing looks absolutely great just as a comic book version of Spider-Man. I mean, it has got the lines drawn in, while the spider itself on the chest looks pretty good and pretty accurate. The one on the back obviously is from the movie, so it's a little bit different there, but I really don't care. Look at the kind of metallic lighter blue we've got on the costume. The red looks great. The webbing is painted perfectly. I love the head sculpt with the smaller eyes. It gives more of a Ditko look to this version of the character. I just loved the way this thing looked when I first saw it, in action figure form. I thought this is going to be a great comic book Spider-Man, and that's why I bought it. And I got to be honest with you, it's a great looking comic book Spider-Man. It absolutely is, hands down. There's just no other way to say it. They did a fantastic job on this, not as an MCU figure, but just as a good old-fashioned Marvel Legend comic book figure, and that's why I bought it. That's where it's going to go on my shelf. And I absolutely love it for that. It definitely has that look of a younger, kind of smaller Peter Parker. And we'll do some comparisons here. I'll show you how he stacks up with some other, Spider-Man figures here. But I think it looks absolutely phenomenal. Now, I will say for a Spider-Man figure, there are a couple of places on here where it is lacking in articulation. And for some people, that's going to be a big no-no. That's going to be a deal breaker for a good Spider-Man figure. One, we don't have any calf swivels, and two, we do not have toe articulation. Now, depending on when you got into collection, that's not unusual, but for a modern Spider-Man figure, it kind of is. And a lot of people are going to be down on that, and I get it. I really do. I don't personally keep my figures in crazy poses on the shelf, especially on my Spider-Man shelves, because I just have too many Spider-Man figures to have them in all crazy positions. So most of them kind of just, stand there like this, or, have their arm out with a thwip hand or something pretty simple. So it doesn't bother me as much as it might bother you if you like to put your figures in lots of dynamic positions. He does have pretty good articulation outside of that. He's got all the standard Marvel Legends articulation. He's got the drop down hips. He can get the splits going on there. He's got thigh swivels and bicep swivels and double jointed elbows. His arm comes all the way up. His legs, come all the way up. He's got that reverse ab crunch where he can bend really nicely forward and really nicely back. Not as good as some figures, but pretty good for a Spider-Man figure, I guess. He's got that torso joint there where he's got the rotation there, and he can get lots of rotation in there. He does have the double ball peg in the neck, which I'm not a fan of when it comes to, really any figures. Honestly, I like the disc hinge. I think it works better. It allows for the figures to look up more. I mean, this is as far as he looks up. Again, not a big deal to me personally because of how I'm going to have him displayed, but to some people, if that's all that Spider-Man can look up, that's crazy, right? He looks down pretty decent, but doesn't look up. And to me, that's a problem that is easily solved by using a disc hinge instead of a double ball peg, because that's just something kind of inherent with the double ball peg, because no companies really do the double ball peg correctly. Now, if they would do the double ball peg correctly, it wouldn't be an issue, but they never do. And so, you know, just stick with a disc hinge. I mean, seriously. We do have some butterfly joints here that work pretty good. So all in all, the articulation is good, not great. Good enough for me and my personal collection and how I'm going to display him, but some of you out there might disagree completely, and you want to get your Spider-Man in the craziest, most dynamic poses possible. That's cool, I understand that. So for you guys out there like that, this might be a little bit of a fail. Now, is he any worse than, you know, a lot of the other Spider-Man figures we've gotten, like Pizza Spidey and all this other stuff? No, he's actually way better in articulation than a lot of those figures. But compared to things like Renew Your Vows, for instance, he is lacking in articulation. Or if you're going to compare him to, I don't know, a Revoltech figure, right? Like, he is lacking in articulation when it comes to some of those types of figures. But for a standard Marvel Legends, he's actually really good. So it kind of depends on where your bar is for a Spider-Man figure. It's basically what it comes down to. But anyway, I like him. I think he looks great. I think he looks comic book accurate, even though he's an MCU figure. Let's go ahead, throw him up with some other figures and see how this dude stacks up. All right, so here we have him up with some of what I think are the better Spider-Man figures out there. Of course, we've got greatest Spider-Man figure of all time with the Mafex 185. We've got Renew Your Vows, and we've got the animated Spider-Man Walmart exclusive that came out last year. And you can see he falls basically right in line with the Mafex and the animated Spidey as far as height and everything, and just kind of, you know, overall sculpt as far as, you know, size of his body and torso and legs and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, he's considerably smaller than Renew Your Vows, which is in my opinion, bigger than Spider-Man should be. You know, Spider-Man should be a little bit of a, you know, more of an average height guy. He shouldn't be completely ripped. And this Renew Your Vows Spider-Man, while I love the figure, is just too ripped to be Spider-Man, in my opinion. But I do think it still works really, really well, especially if you were to look at these two right here and say, you know, teenage Spidey, adult Spidey. I think that works really, really good. For my personal taste, I like a Mafex-sized or animated or even this new Final Swing suit better than I like this Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. So for me, this guy right here is like right where I want Spider-Man to be. This is a young Spider-Man that is just out there learning the ropes and kicking ass. And look, I mean, look at him compared to these other three. Look how comic book accurate this Spider-Man figure is, and this is supposed to be an MCU figure. I think it just looks utterly fantastic. All right, so let's talk about price here real quick. And of course, he goes for 25 bucks, standard pricing for Marvel Legends now. And the question is he worth it? As a Spider-Man fan who is biased towards Spider-Man, I fully admit, I say yes, it's worth it. Now, you can tell from the video, I like the figure, okay? It does have some limitations as far as the articulation goes, but I think it is a great figure. I love it. I think it looks fantastic. I know it's going to look great on my shelf. I've been playing around with this thing for a couple weeks now, and I absolutely, hands down, love this little dude. I think they did a phenomenal job for a comic book Spider-Man, even though I think they kind of failed maybe as an MCU Spider-Man. I don't know. Maybe they didn't fail, but they did a great job by giving us a great comic book Spider-Man when I know that's not what they were trying to do. But I love it. I think it came out really good, and I'm very, very happy to have him. But I would love to know what you guys think. Have you picked this guy up yet? If you have, what do you think? If you haven't, are you going to? And if not, why? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys say about this dude. But that is it, guys. Thank you for watching, and always remember to enjoy your collection.